Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today. And, as we said, this is going to be a live for our NMRI group. We're just going to go through this interview to just get to know you, get to know about your journey in real estate. And also, you're going to share with us some of the nuggets that you learned along the way. And first of all, I just want to start by asking you to tell you about who you are and exactly what do you do.
Okay. So my name is Phila Mfaba. By profession, I'm a teacher. But my ambition is always being to be financially free, like to be financially wealthy. So for the longest time, I've been looking for a platform where I can combine what I love and the desire to be financially free. And I love teaching, but honestly, I don't think it will take me to that financial wealth. And considering my background, it becomes very important for me to make sure that I work on my finances. So I've heard about property and how you can invest in property and while you're doing your job, but it's very scary to go into such a buying a house. House is a big thing that you want to buy, and there's a lot of involved. And if you don't have the knowledge, you always look at it as something that you need to buy at this amount, and you don't even have that close to amount. And at first, when people and then just learning about it from internet, and I started to see that people are being saying you can buy a property with no money down and all of that. And at first, it didn't sound like it almost sounded like a scam when someone says that you can buy a property with no money. Like, no, I'm gonna get scammed here. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna get hacked, whatever you can think. But I had that for years. That meant that it's not possible to go and get a house without any money down. And people will say that you can even make profit without even using your own money. I was like, it's not possible. But as soon as I did your course and you gave us an example of how you ran your deals and with no money down and you got a profit on top of that, let alone the fact that you bought a property with no money down, but there was also profit coming from the same property. And I was like, if you can do it, I can also try to do it. And I just had to be brave once and for all and say, let me just do. If it fails, I'm sure there'll be a way out. And I went for it and it worked.
100%, 100%. And I think this idea of if I can do it, you can do it is the key to most of, any person who's successful in life, because I do the same thing too. I look at somebody else who's done it and I'm like, you know what? Since somebody else can do it and they're a normal human being, they might have an IQ of 100 and something, but whatever they do doesn't require too much IQ, just requires knowledge and taking action, So it gives me the ease to come down a bit to say, okay, maybe something also within my reach as well. So talking about, your journey, thinking like a skeptic, like I am a skeptic as well. When I see other things, I ask myself too many things. I'm like, okay, is this thing for real? And is this something that, is positive? And then can you tell us a bit about your journey, obviously in real estate, and also how did you start and where are you right now?
Okay, so I started, I think the first step for everything you want to start is you get educated. That becomes the first step. It doesn't matter how ambitious or how you are a go-getter. If you don't have enough knowledge and information about what you're about to start, you're bound to fail. And what's the best way to learn than to learn from people who have been doing the process already? So I initially started say I had to educate myself. Okay, I had to pay whatever I have to pay to make sure that I get the right information. Yes, obviously you'll make mistakes along the way. You have to, and you learn from them. But at least you know exactly what's your path now. So where I started with my journey was to buy to your course, just so I can get this information so that I can know the steps to take, and then I can learn from the mistakes that you made, and I can learn from the successes that you make. So that was my first step, and then I obviously joining your Facebook group also helped a lot, because now I get to people will ask questions that I never thought about, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear the answer from that question, because that's something that will help me as well in my journey. So you need that community of people who are going the same direction as you are going. You also need the education that educate you about what you want to know. And if you combine those two, that skeptical, being skeptical about the process is now we get to be more courageous, and you want to do it to get hungry. Every day when I come and listen to these live videos, I get more motivated and more each and every week. So you want to stay connected to your journey, to make sure that you communicate to other people. You learn as you go. You don't do it once. You go. I don't know how many times I went back to the course to say, let me go and check. Every time I'm about to do a due diligence, about to do a worksheet, I go back to the course and say, how was Ezra doing it one more time? So you can never get enough of learning. You keep on learning. And I knew exactly what I wanted. So I started to draw a picture of exactly the kind of property that I want to own, my first property. And I had it clear in my mind before I even went and buy it. And once I had that clear mind, this is how much I want, this is how I want my apartment to be, this is where I want my apartment to be, I didn't settle for anything. So I was like, I'm willing to wait as long as I can to get the apartment that I want, that I have in my mind. And that's one message I want to leave everyone with. Do not rush the system, do not rush the process. Do your numbers, know what you want, and know exactly where you're going with your property. So when the agent first proposed the property to me, it worked. It was in the right place, right? It was a right size, but the price was not right. So I told the agent before even meet that I love the place. You are right. Everything is there. I don't want, because this is the first property I'm buying. I don't want anything complicated, right? I want to buy a property, put a tenant, and start making money. That's what I want for my first property. And I said it fits most of the criteria, but it doesn't have the income, doesn't have the profit that I want. So I'm not going to take in this price. Okay. And then from there, we started the negotiation. So if you are clear upfront with whoever the seller is that what you want, they're always willing to negotiate with you. And we negotiated, and it went exactly to what I was looking for. And now I own a property without putting any money, even with the banks, when you sign the OTP, very specific, I will take the property if only I can get the bank to give me 120%. That was very clear and bold, right?
Wow.
At an interest rate of 7%. So if that is not happening, one of the two, I remember I got offers from 3 banks, and one of them was 100%, 100%. One of it was 180, sorry, what is 120%, but the interest rate was not working. So I went back to the seller and said, those offers are not working for me. Okay, so I'm not going to take it because now you're moving from being your property moves from being an asset to a liability. So you bought something that is taking money from me, and that is something that I didn't want. So eventually I kept applying up until ABSA was able to give me the 120% at 7%.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm sitting with the property where the tenant is paying the bond, and I'm getting up to 2,000 a month after paying the bond and the levies.
Wow. Look, I'm very proud of you, and I think your story is very inspiring. Your perseverance is also, you know, something that I think that from somebody who is looking at you to say, okay, you started somewhere else, you went for what you want, you visualized it, and then you actually followed through to see until you get the results that you want. As you mentioned, the patience of getting a different offer that you're not looking for, and then you stick to your principles to say, okay, I'm looking for something that's going to make me money. It might meet all the criteria, but I'm not going to rush into a deal that I'm going to be just, you know, paying the bank's money back. You know what I mean? But I'm looking for something that makes me money. That's something that's very, very inspiring. So I'm just going to also touch on something you mentioned as well to say, okay, you went and repeated the training. How important is it to repeat the training until you grasp the principles?
I think you go up to the point where you've got your property. You know, even now, if I'm going from my second property, I'm gonna go back to the course. The nice thing is it's always there available for you. It's not something that you have it once. You can always log in and go back to it. Even when even though I have my first property, when I'm going for my second one, I'm still gonna go back to it and say, let me start as if this is the first time I'm doing the course, because every time I go there, I'm not kidding you, I always learn something new. I'm like, how did I miss this from the first time I was watching it? You know, every time there'll be something that you missed as you learn. So keep going back. Don't say that it's not a matter of tick, I'm moving to the next one. It's an ongoing learning process that you need to keep on going back to it. So as I'm about to start looking into my second investment, I'm gonna keep going back to it so that I can find those fine things that I'm missing along the way.
Definitely. No, definitely. I think that's a very nice way to also look at it, to say, hey, there's always something new to learn. That's why it's important to repeat information. And I just want to ask something. What are some of the negative beliefs you had to overcome before you closing your first rental property? And, you know, can you share a little bit of, you know, how did you also overcome them as well?
So I think the first thing was the fact that is this, especially for first-time buyers, we undermine ourselves. When you look at the real estate agent, he's wearing nice, he has a car that is branded, they have cards, they have heels, and they speak nice English, and they've been telling you about offers they're getting, and you get intimidated. And after you view that house, you're like, I don't think this is for me. And I had that so many times. I'm like, I feel like these are people who are up there and I'm just below there. And I feel like this person looked at me and was like, oh, I'm just going to show you the house because they're already here, but I don't see you buying the house. So there's that level of undermining yourself as someone who's
Feel like an imposter, like it's an imposter syndrome.
Exactly, yeah, there's something like that. So again, being connected to the team and seeing other people's success stories, and say that guy's same position as I am, and he got his apartment, he's got his first deal. Let me go and try again. So the moment, so how I overcame that is that I stay connected on a Facebook group. I joined the live session like this one where people come and share their stories, and I'm looking at those. That's like an ordinary person just like me, and he was able to work it out. So you go back the following week. And to be honest, being connected to people and listening to their stories, it motivates you. It's just every time we end our session, I go to my phone and then I contact us a real estate agent. I've been hesitating about. I've been scared. Say I want to organize another viewing. I want to negotiate the price and all of that. So the motivation comes from having a team that is going toward the same direction.
Definitely. And what keeps you going then? What's the thing that keeps you going when the going gets tough? Because the honest truth is, nothing is just a smooth sail. And also they say that the smooth sailing doesn't make what is it? A smooth sea doesn't make a skilled sailor. So what keeps you going when the sea doesn't get to become smooth anyway, it gets tough and it has bumps and etc.?
I think I always go back at the beginning. I always go back where exactly I started. And then if I go back and say, I've started here and I was able to get this apartment, let me start again and start it as a new journey. Always go back to learning. I encourage that learning is important. So I try to learning and action and combine them. Okay? And when things get tougher, you always rely on learning. And when you feel more confident and then you go again. And there are times where you feel like you want to quit this. I don't think it's working for you. And then you go back and learn one more again. You go back to the success stories we've been talking about. And you go back to all your own success stories where like, I've done it. There's an apartment, it's working. So why am I scared to go to the next step? I can do this again. And because of that, I keep going. So I'm always a learner. I don't think I'll reach a stage where I'm a professional a property investor. There's always something to learn. There's always something new. And if the action is not working, come back to learning and then go back and act again, and always move vice versa.
I mean, that mindset is an important mindset of keeping a mindset of a learner. I'm also doing the same thing too, and I see a lot of people who are successful. They keep that mindset of, okay, I'm still learning. I'm open to learning as much as I can, and then also open to improving myself as I go, because you're the number one person that must be improved for everything around you to improve,
Yes.
And then one of the things that I also wanted to ask is, what are you most proud of right now, being part of our program?
I think one of them latest is being invited as a guest in the show, which symbolizes that there's something I've done regularly, and secondly, it's I was able to see the results from what I've learned from the course. So I went through and then I went through it and I said, okay, now I think I get the gist. Let me go and put everything I've learned into action, and it actually paid out. And there was really a positive correlation between what I've learned and what I've achieved. So if anyone is still doing the course, do it and do it up until you feel confident that now you understand all the concepts, and then you go and take an action. It's just gonna flow smoothly as soon as you understand. So I was really happy because I started skeptical. I was like, okay, let me see if this gonna happen. If it's not, I'm back to zero. But I was like, I'm gonna take action after I've learned. I'm already here. You've already taken your first step by being part of this course. So just go all the way. So don't look back. Go all the way up to fail. If you fail, that's fine. It's part of the process. Come back and learn again, and
100%.
that what I was proud of. I was able to keep going, even if the tougher keeps going. I feel like this is the first time where I started something and I ended up finishing it. Yeah, I can tell you a lot of projects that I've starting to trying to sell something, trying to be a writer. I can count all of them, but I've never get to finish because I feel like I didn't have a proper guidance. I had ambition for it, but there was no proper guidance and there was no clear path as if I'm here now, where do I need to be? But being part of the course, I was able to say, if now I'm only looking for a deal, I can go somewhere and look how do you do that. If now I'm negotiating with an agent, there's something that's gonna guide me. If now I'm doing my numbers, due diligence, I can always refer to something. It's more like your dictionary if you're trying to write something where you can always go back and refer. So I was proud for myself that I was able to, for the first time, finish something that I've started.
Now that's something that's very important actually. And then just to also ask Phila, one of the things that people doubt is we do a lot of advertising online, we do a lot of webinars, etc. And then when somebody sees, we say, okay, get into property without any money. It sounds like a walk in the door message. So on your side, where did you hear about us? And also, I just wanted to couple that with what is one of the biggest lessons you learned since you joined our community?
So I think I've seen your ad on, I see your ad on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
I saw it on Facebook, and then I started, sorry, I started liking property related pages and there were a lot of people selling. So sometimes you just have to follow instinct and say, I feel like this gonna work for me. So that's what I did. I was like, I feel like it's gonna work for me, and then I become part of it. And to be honest, all the basics information, all the information I know about investing in property, I've learned from the course. Everything starting from presenting myself as as a property investor, like the mindset to start with, like you want to put yourself in a position where you are already a property investor, and then making that your personality, like I am a property investor, and all the way to now taking the step by step into the process. So I've learned exactly what I've learned the most, which I think was important, was the steps of going towards buying your property. Okay, so because when you start to buy a property, there are a lot of things. Everything is everywhere. So where do you start? Do I start contacting an agent? Do I put an OTP? Do I look for a place like? And if now you know exactly what is the first thing to do, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, everything becomes easier for you because you know the sequence of going from one to the last one.
Definitely.
That's very important to me after I've decided I want to be a property investor. But where to start? Nobody knows. If you go to someone and say there's a property investment that can give you money right at the end of the month, and then you let them go, they will still be comfortable with the same thing. I think that's what every first time a property investor have to deal with. Where do I start? If I started, what's next? After that, what's next? And you need a process that guides you up to a point where you say, I have the keys now to the property.
Definitely. And I mean, the biggest thing also for people who are starting out, they might come here and look at you, and that's why we encourage sharing your stories, Phila, is because somebody might look at you and say, no, Phila is lucky, he's just connected with the right people, or maybe, people have different excuses that they make, and they're very valid to them on their side, So what is your advice for somebody who's starting out right now to say, okay, what must they be, looking out for to become as successful as you on closing their first deal and also building their portfolio?
I think there's a saying that says luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. Okay, you don't get lucky by sitting at home. You don't never find money. You never find an apartment at home. You have to be prepared, and you'll find an opportunity. So I feel like I was in a position. If someone say I'm lucky, yeah, you're right. I was prepared, and there was an opportunity, and I was able to capitalize from it. So luck doesn't knock on your door. You go and look for it. So I think first thing first is be prepared. Maybe start by being willing. Okay. I think the willingness comes from inside. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to become a property investor. And people should think about their earlier goals. Okay, there's a point where you say, I'm willing to go to school and get my degree or whatever it was, the previous success. Okay, and you say, let me do it again. And I'm willing to go all the way up until I get what I want. So you have that goal, the bigger picture, to say at the end of this, I want to be able to see my bigger goal. So you need to be willing. I'm willing to be a property investor, and the truth is, there will be difficulties a lot. It will be
Definitely.
scary. It will be definitely scary because other if you go to other people and they talk about property, they talk about seven-figure property, they talk about multiple portfolios, and you're like, I don't think that's me. That's normal. It's part of the process. If you are willing to go all the way and you understand that there'll be failures, but you learn from failures and you understand that you have a good guidance as you go, you should be fine. So
Definitely.
there's no such thing as luck if you are sitting. Do something as long as you are moving. As long as you are moving, I think as long as you are moving, you're going the right direction. There's no such thing as a wrong movement. Okay. And every time we move towards a direction that gets us close to where we wanna go. As long as you're wanting, I think people need to move and stop being afraid and saying that what if I go to the wrong place? It's fine. The wrong place always take you to the right place. And
Definitely.
you will be learning from your mistakes.
So one thing I also picked up from your side, talking to you right now, Phila, is your mindset is very positive. And the reason why I'm also picking it up is you are somebody who's willing to learn, somebody who's willing to try. You got over your skepticism, you got over your fear of failure, you got over your fear of loss by taking action. And even when you said right now, you said if you go to the wrong place, it's definitely going to lead you to the right place, especially if you have the right guidance. You know, how does one develop a mindset like that, especially if they're just starting out in this journey?
Uh, I think if the right mindset really will come from, again, maybe going back to having the community and being around people who have the right mindset.
Okay.
Honestly, I started spending more time with people who want to invest in property and less time with people who are against property or any success that matter. You are part of community of people who are skeptical. Chances are you're gonna be skeptical. Okay,
Definitely.
the truth exists in our own eyes and in our own mind, and that's all. So the moment you surround yourself with people who are positive, and that's gonna be part of your life as well, you're gonna be most likely to be positive. It's the nature and the nature kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
started to change my setting. I started to say, instead of spending my Saturdays, like if you take me a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't think I'll be here on a Saturday, on a raining Saturday like this. I'll be chatting and seeing where the party is, but I started I started to move my focus from I still spend time with my friends who are not, but I limit that to say I focus more on the people who are going the same way. You don't have to go out there and say you are no longer my friends. And the best way to select a good people to go with every time with them, just go them with property up until they don't want to with you anymore, and that's fine. And that's fine. That works for me. When if people want to come over, if they want to chill with me, I just talk about property all the time. And people who are interested will always invite me over and want to learn from me. And those who are not will isolate themselves. And you don't need to have you don't need to find now physically looking for friends who are property investors by saying to be in the right community is on Saturdays make a plan to make sure you join a live session like this one. Right, this is a community people who want to be property investors. Go and learn about successful people in property. Go anywhere in any platform in the internet and start to interact. Get friend people from Facebook and ask them what are you doing, what are you up to. Let them share their stories with you. Use the internet to get the right connection and be with the right people, and then people start to share now their successes and failures, and the rest will be history.
100%, 100%. So where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years, Phila? And also, we are almost half in 2021. How do you see yourself closing 2021?
So let's start with 2021. So I'm looking at going into my second investment property now. Okay, and I
Okay.
want and I want to make sure that I think one thing I didn't do correctly with my first one was to structure my property correctly. So my property is under my own name, and I need to fix that firstly. To make sure that I put all my property under a company so that I don't get exposed, and then I still have that credit to get more property. and
Yeah,
I'm to purchase the second property and put both of them under my company so that I can continue be able to get more properties under my name. And I'm looking to I've been learning about installment sales agreement, and I'm looking for a property that can at least give me that way I can purchase a property in a short period of time using the seller as a finance. And I'm looking also into a joint venture where someone can say, let's do this, one or two people, and you buy something big and you manage it. So those are the
definitely.
kind of strategies I want to exercise before I close 2019. One of the three, if I can able to get people, one or two people who say that let's buy that property and let's manage it. If I can get a seller who say I'm willing to finance you for the next 5 years, and and then I take my properties into a company, that will be a great success for me for 2021.
100%, 100%. And then if obviously one of the things I also picked up is not everything that you learned on your journey was in this training. Some of the stuff you actually learned by taking action, you know? So what are some of the things that you can share with us that you actually learned by being out there, doing deals, putting offers, etc.?
I think one of the things I've learned is completely different to sit in front of a computer and learn about property. You can learn so far, but other lessons are really hidden, and they start to appear when you go out into the real world and start engaging with the properties themselves. And you start to realize
Definitely.
that as much as it helped to have that knowledge base, but you learn more by taking actions. So I feel like what I've learned is that at the moment, I think I spend a lot of time only learning the concepts and all of that, like mastering what is that. But if you don't put that into action, into an actual world, it just becomes knowledge, and that's it. And then there's nothing you can do about knowledge. So I was so proud to say I know the concepts, I know the steps, I know the procedure, but I had nothing to show for it. So that knowledge
Definitely.
needs to be combined with an action so that we can produce a certain results. So going out there, looking at the properties, viewing the properties, I've learned so much. And then one of the things I've learned was to make sure that I create a good relationship with real estate agents, you know, and and I've learned that the hard way because they easily get annoyed, and if they do that, they stop working with you even if they have a good deal. So I've learned that I need to create a good relationship with agent, and the best way to do that is to be upfront before you go and view with them and say, "This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I want. Do you think you have what I want?" And when they do have what you want, they're gonna call you. That's how I got my first deal. Okay, I wasn't even looking at agents say that before I take this to the market, I have something like this. Would you like to come and see it? Because at the beginning I was very straightforward with the person that is what I want, is how I want, and so on. But before that, I was just gonna view and disappear. And when they call, when they SMS, you don't answer to them. The next time they have a better deal. Now you want to call them, they are no longer interested because you didn't build that relationship. So even with the seller, even if you don't like the apartment, you say that politely, that as a property investor, it doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. If you happen to have something like this, will you be willing to contact me? Okay. And what I've learned is that agents don't want to the admin of going to put that thing on property 24, wherever it costs money. If they know there's someone who's looking for this, they will rather call you first. And if you don't take it, then they will go and put it on property 24. And that gives you an advantage over other buyers as well. So that relationship becomes key. Even now, I still get people who call me, give me a WhatsApp and say, I have something like this. And like I keep on saying, we talked about this. They're gonna try you and see. I talk about this. I told you I want to enter and see, but you always been polite with them. So I think that was a big lesson, and I don't think I've learned that anyway. On online, you have to go out there and say, oh, now I see how I can go about it. I mean, really, agents and sellers are gonna be a bigger part of your chain. So you need to make sure that the relationship between you and them is very clear, it's very nice, and you don't hide anything from them. You don't hide it. Tell them exactly what you want and how you want it.
Definitely, Phila. I think emphasizing on what you're saying, I think transparency and building relationships is what keeps us in this game. Like having integrity, you know. Everybody wants to deal with people with integrity, and I think that is something that most of our viewers today can also learn as well from your side. I wanted to say, since we are closing this interview, is there any last words you wanted to leave us with, and also leave our audience, and also just to give them motivation, to do deals, get out there, and make sure that they're closing and making money?
I think the first thing I will say is everyone, you can. And I think if you take action now, the moment you take the first step into it, it's gonna make the whole difference. And you realize the moment you get into property that this was easy. Why? What was I scared of? Like the moment you step into it, you realize it was easier than you thought. So I want people, don't let your thoughts and your fear and the fears of others to limit you. The biggest mistake you can, the biggest mistake you can ever make about property or any success is to ask people who are not in the journey, because people have the tendency to expose their fears on you because I didn't do it, then it's translated as not possible. And I've made that mistake. I'm trying to do property investment and I ask people who failed at it. And they don't say, no, I sucked, I failed. I'm going to say, no, that thing is not possible. That thing is for white people, it's for rich people. I've heard a lot of that. If you want to know about property, ask people who've invested in property. It goes with everything you want to do in life. You ask people who have experience in that journey, And if you ask the wrong people, you're gonna get the wrong results. And I think that's where the biggest fear comes from in most of the beginners, is that they ask from people who are not experienced or who are afraid to go and get into the property business. And and I think taking action is very key. You're gonna fail either way. Even if you don't take action, you're gonna fail, but you rather fail while moving forward. You rather make sure that your failures pay you off.
Definitely.
Or they take action and fail, come back and ask. What is nice about property now is that there is a community for it. There are people who, when if anything happens, you come back and say this and this and this happened. How do I solve it? People always have answers. I don't think you'll ever find, at this point, you'll never find any unique situation. You'll never be in a situation where people say, I've never seen this in my life. Someone at some point have been there and they were able to overcome that. So go there, fail, come back and ask someone to say, no, I've been there before. This is what I want to enter. I did. You'll never die. You won't go to prison. You'll just learn from your mistake and move forward. So remove the fear. And I think remove the fear and just keep going. You'll thank yourself in the 10 years.
Definitely, Phila. And I think the most important encouraging message you're saying is get started, take action, and get out there and do stuff, instead of just getting stuck in the paralysis analysis of analyzing things and scenarios that you've never even been into, So I think that is exactly what would get us results. Okay, Phila, I want to thank you very much for joining us online today. And I think that is something that we'll try to put it on YouTube as well, to just encourage people there to say, hey guys, there are people out there who are doing deals, getting results, and they can also do the same thing. And I want you to enjoy the weekend as well. And also, thank you for your time, taking time on weekend, as you said, to actually invest your few hours of your time to be, on us with this training and then being able to share your story. I think we appreciate that very much. And I wanted to also thank everybody who's going to be watching this, and also everybody who attended our live training today. Thank you very much, guys. Phila, enjoy the rest of your day, man, and thank you very much again.
Thank you, Ezra. Thank you, bye.
All right, we'll chat soon. Bye-bye.